Alright, so if you came from the old channel, you've seen me fill these little rosin carts quite often. Got some strawberry cookies, hash rosin I pressed last night. Now typically, ooh, that stuff smells really good. So typically I use these little cheap carts. You can get these all over the place. They generally have a small hole. I don't do diluters and dewaxers, but I do add terpenes. This is the Mr. Extractor. That's their terpenes. With their terpenes, you don't have to use a dewaxer. What I'm going to try today, which we're going to fill some of these too, but what I'm going to try today is these eye crushers. It's the Nor and the Tiki Pro. We got 0.5 milliliter and a 1 milliliter, allowing you to use a much thicker concentrate. This is fresh pressed yesterday, cool area. If I would have left the lid on for another day, maybe two, you'd see a nice oil separating. We'd come in here, give it a nice whip, real nice consistency. We're gonna go ahead and try it like this. For our filling syringe, I forgot to order some. We're gonna go major overkill, use a 10 milliliter. And all I have is the gigantic blunt tips and these micro ones. So using the 8-ton Rosin Pen, we're gonna go ahead and heat this up. Alright, so before we actually fill the cart, let's show you a little bit of footage of me actually making the rosin. I'm using the 37 micron bags from Dab Press. I should be available for links now on YouTube. You had to wait 2 months. If so, there's some down the bottom. All I did was double bag these just to reduce the risk of blowouts. I also wrapped some parchment paper around it. That way the flow can only come out the front, not the sides. Hash rosin does ooze a lot, so it'll definitely come out the sides of your press. One very important step, and I have a lot of videos on pressing rosin. I believe I've uploaded most of them to this new place. Let it sit and warm up at that temperature for a good 30 seconds to a minute before you ever press any pressure on it. If you press pressure on it, you're going to have a blowout. I've showed a few of those on here. I want to say one of the last, the frozen fuel hash rosin, I think I had a blowout. Now this is on a low temp of 175. I've pressed the hash rosin up to 185. Just playing around, depending on what the actual material is, depends on your consistency and your color that comes out and what type of temperature you need. All you're doing is adding pressure just to keep the flow consistent. Trying to let the heat do as much as possible. If you see the left runner has some dark swirls in it, that could be either one. I did have 3 grams of the G rolls. That's the apple fritter grape rock candy, of just some sif that I had for my trim bin. So I put that in there. That could be from that, or that could be from me putting a little bit too much pressure. Not quite a blowout, but I am pushing some of those waxes and those heads before the contents of them are actually melting out. Either way, I'm happy with the consistency of it. I'm happy with the color. This dark stuff on the paper is right at the end. I crank it down. This is just getting the most out of it that I'm going to use for like edibles, chocolate, stuff like that. This is something you don't really want to get seen with, or let people try. This is something that you can just get the most out of it. Put it in chocolates, put it in whatever you want like that. After you decarb it, of course, make edibles. This is the final. I think we got 9 grams, something like that off of it. Pretty happy with it. Let's put a lid on it. Come back in a couple days, make a cart. This is in the 8-ton Rosin Pen. We're going to go and heat this up. This is going to be for our mixing. It's going to be for our little mixing glass. Went ahead and put 1 gram in there. I believe the Nord will take half a gram. It's a half milliliter cart. After a few minutes on the plate, it does get a little bit softer. We're going to heat it up just a little bit more, mixing it all, making it homogeneous. Really thick hash rosin, so we'll see how it does. We'll come back in a little while and see how it is. Alright, so now for the end. I'm not going to record somebody consuming it, but from what I've seen, I keep naming these backwards. The Nord is the taller, skinny one, holds 1 milliliter. The Tiki Pro is the fatter, shorter one, but it holds half a milliliter. Pure rosin, I did put some terpenes in the 2 glass carts. On the Tiki, I just put straight rosin without doing a jar tech or a heat tech. It's a little too thick. I'm going to be practicing with this because I like these a lot more. One downside is you have to buy them in a 50 pack. So you have to buy it in bulk. It's going to last you a long time, but they're only about $2 to $3 more than what I'm spending on these empty carts. But the empty carts, I can buy 10. That's going to last me quite a long time, the little amount that I make them. But in the Nord, once you get it rolling, it rolls good. I noticed you have to flip it over and give it a little jump start, blow through the back. Once you get it rolling, you can smoke it just fine. I'm going to be doing some more experimenting with this for sure. Once the Oreos and the grape gasket's done, that is what I'm going to be doing, a bigger run of these and fine-tuning my method. I don't believe I'm going to buy any dewaxers or any VG, PG crap. I believe I'm just going to heat it. A downside of that is I've seen people wrap them in seed mats or heating blankets. The downside of that is if you have to use an oven or whatever, you're going to be spending electricity for 24 to 48 hours to heat a jar, a small jar. So if you're doing 100, 200 of these, if you got 100 grams inside of a jar, it kind of offsets it. But if you're only putting like 5 grams in a jar, putting it in your oven for 24 to 48 hours just seems like a lot of wasted time. But we're going to try it. We're going to experiment with it, see what we can do to make these things flow better with the hash rosin, to where you won't need to give it a little jump start before you get a good flow.